It continues, it says, to have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth of love. To consider all of that. Think about how you would even measure the love of God. How do you even measure it? It's beyond scope. You can't weigh it. You can't measure it. You can't put some kind of parameters around it or get a volume of love of God. It is that immeasurable, his love for you, because it keeps on going. And that's the thing that some needed to hear today. They think that they've run to the edge of God's love and they're beyond the love of God. You are not beyond the love of God. He loves you. You cannot outrun the love of God. He loves the prodigal. He knows the one that knew the love of him and that walked away. He still loves them. He still loves you if that's you. He wants you to come back to him. That's how much he loves us. Pastors talked about it in Romans 8. We read it earlier today. It talks about it here. It says, what shall separate us from the love of Christ? It talks about the other side of it. Shall all of these things separate us from Christ? Shall tribulation or distress, persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or sword? Anything else fall into that you can apply today? It says this, as it is written, for your sake we're being killed all day long, to regard it as sheep before the slaughter, meaning we're willing to go the extra mile to the very end for Christ. It says, because of our willingness to do so, nothing, no, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Whatever's in front of you, we are more than a conqueror. Whatever's in your circumstance that's in front of you that seems impossible to get over, you are more than a conqueror in Christ. The love of God can help you overcome that obstacle. Man, I'm so encouraged by this piece. It makes me think of this song about the love of God. It goes, deep and wide, there's a fountain flowing, deep and wide. Do you guys know this? See, it might not know it. It's back in the day, Sunday school and things like that. Whenever my, Sunday school teachers would like walk up behind me because I was making face at somebody and pull the short hairs in the back of my neck. We don't do that, by the way. But it once upon a time did happen to me. But we would sing this song and it'd be like, deep and wide, there's a fountain flowing deep and wide. It talks about the love of God, how his love for us is so deep and so wide. You can't measure it. And if you get that down deep inside of you, then you too will stay grounded in him. When we're talking about all these things that'll separate us from the love of Christ, I think of, I've had the chance to be in Rome, had the chance to be in Vatican City, and had the chance to be inside the Sistine Chapel where Michelangelo painted this on the ceiling. And it's called The Creation of Man, and the idea is that it's God reaching out to touch Adam's finger, and there's a bunch of nakedness that I've edited out. But the thing is true, like even though there's a gap that's here, this is not a reality. The gap that's in between us and God is not a reality because he's already connected to you. Remember, we already saw it. He already abides with you. And as soon as you make the decision to follow Christ, he's with you. So there is no separation unless you put it there. So choose not to. See, I think today there's this thing that happens where we get so busy that we don't intend to put something in front of God, but it happens. And then we accidentally put something else in front of God, and then we get further away. And then we get to this place where we realize that we're far from him, and we feel guilty about it, and then we don't know how to overcome the guilt to get back to where we were. My friend, let me encourage you. No one's judging you. No one's looking at you. You go and make that right with God. Ask the Lord to forgive you. Lord, I'm sorry that I made this other thing a priority instead of you. Lord, I'm sorry I allowed this perspective to creep into my heart instead of you. Lord, forgive me. I want to be full of your love. I want to walk with you every day. I want to stay connected. That's what it's about.